Lions just recovered a fumble.
Bits of wisdom.
It's Harry Houdini, I'm pretty sure.
That's when it kind of becomes Home Improvement After Dark.
I guess that leaves us at the question of the week.
Very good. I don't know if you noticed, Jordan, but a really cool aerial shot of the table. Reasonably funny.
User review.
Does everybody know what time it is?
Home and podcast time.
That's right, a company that co-produces with Binford Tools is proud to present a Home Improvement podcast. My name is Adam, and I'm joined by my co-host, Jordan. He looks like Don Ho, and he's getting coffee with Mo. How you doing, pal?
Wow, way to incorporate Mo in there. That was pretty good.
And Don Ho.
That's
Another reference in the episode, so yeah.
all in one package there. It's been one of those weeks that has been flying by for me. I don't know about for you, but it's going pretty well.
Are your arms tired? Is that the setup?
Yeah, I've been flapping a lot.
I just flew in from San Diego, and boy, are my arms tired.
But I'm bumped. You know me, I like those kind of jokes.
Yeah, you're the Bob Saget of the podcast.
Just wait, there's a joke later in this episode about parrots and crackers and lawyers.
Oh man, I can't wait to talk about that for real. We're gonna try to reverse engineer that bad boy. I'm excited. So how you been doing this week?
Good. Yeah, it's been good.
All right, cool. So what else is new?
What else is new? I don't even remember what we talked about last time as far as what was new. Did I say that I have another bunny now? We have two bunnies.
I don't think that you did.
They just, mitosis. They just split into two.
How are they getting along? Your two rabbits.
They're good for the most part. They're sectioned off right now. One's a free range bun, and the other one's not quite litter trained. So
you're shortening. You're calling them bun as opposed to bunnies because it's just a lot shorter.
There's just not enough time.
Yeah, well, I mean, with the podcasting, your job and stuff, yeah. Do you just kind of play White Rabbit by Jefferson Airplane just kind of throughout your house to sort of appease the?
I tried, but Lily hates it.
She hates it. Yeah,
she
doesn't like it.
Nah, she's more of a Beyonce girl.
She doesn't care for the drug references.
No, absolutely.
Beyonce's having twins.
That's exactly why I got a second bunny. I just felt like I had to join that train.
Yeah, and this could be a podcast in and of itself, but Beyonce, I mean, everybody likes Beyonce. Everybody likes Beyonce's music, but she's kind of strange, right? I mean, like that, photo, the photo announcement of her, that's a weird thing to do, a weird way to go about announcing that you're having twins, don't you think?
It's hard for me to judge. I've never been a pregnant woman.
I mean, yeah, all right. Glad I asked.
Yeah, really shut that one down.
Yeah, you're not playing ball. Instead of asking you about that, though, we noted that, or we mentioned rather that we wanted to talk about. We talked to. Well, I mean, it's probably been months ago now about our 5 favorite films, and today we want to talk about our 5 favorite television shows.
Yeah, we just got a lot of good feedback from people. They loved our movie choices, so we decided to do TV shows as well.
Yeah, I mean, this is just something everyone's been pining for, and tip of everyone's tongues. They said, we just want
the mailbag is overflowing.
More top 5s. It's robust.
Mm-hmm.
I had to shove it in the closet, and now I put the couch up against the door because the letters are just coming out all ends. So, back by popular demand, our top 5 segment. And this week we're talking top 5 TV shows, as this is a podcast about a TV show. So, and Jordan, how do you want to do this?
Do you want to go back and forth?
Let's go back and forth in no particular order.
No
right?
particular order. I have a mix of different genres. I hope you do too. And
I went all foreign. So just all straight. It's all.
That sounds like you.
It's all Dutch television, so it's good. I have a mix of genre as well. So go ahead and start us off.
I'm gonna go with one that might be on your list. I'm gonna start with The Twilight Zone. That's on there for me.
Yeah. If I had to say, if I were ranking, that would be one of the top 2 probably. But yeah, Twilight Zone as well. Long been a favorite show of mine. I watched it growing up with my father, marathons and such. Probably one of the main reasons or at least that I was kind of prompted to do this podcast, was a Twilight Zone podcast I listened to called The Twilight Pone. Those guys were just really good, but also not so good, so as to kind of make it seem like it was impossible. But they did something simple, but it was also really well done, which kind of was the impetus for me wanting to do this. But love the Twilight Zone. Can't say it enough.
The Twilight Zone and the Twilight Pone, just
love them both.
Big
been
fans.
Great.
Yeah, it's a great show. It's got its mix of episodes. I like that it's a different story each time. I like that they're often thought provoking, but it's also one of those shows where like some of them are just bad and you can look back and laugh. So
right, yeah. I think when we're recording Home and Podcast, I sometimes wish that we had the the episodes where things are different every time. So it would be nice to have that variety every once in a while, but we do not. So another one I have is, where do I go? I went with Mad Men.
Oh, that's on my list too.
Hey, good crossover. It's always when we have the same things. It makes for a really interesting back and forth. In the time, it was always Mad Men or Breaking Bad for people. I always liked Mad Men infinitely more. Really cool stylistic stuff, good writing, great characters. I mean, Don Draper is right up there in terms of all-time television characters, so I like that. And yeah, I loved the show from the minute it started to the minute it ended, and it had very few missteps in my opinion. So yeah, one of my favorites.
Yeah, and I think it had a good mix of both male and female character development, which is often missing in a lot of shows. But for that show, I didn't even get into it until maybe it was on its final season, and I started watching it on Netflix and kind of binged through everything. And yeah, like you said, just a lot of compelling episodes, a lot of compelling characters, and really a joy throughout.
Yeah, that's a really good point about the female characters, though, because Elizabeth Moss playing Peggy Olson, that's about as good of a female character as we've seen over the last couple of years. So yeah. All right, you got another one?
Yeah, I'm gonna go back to the '90s when
we're going back to the future. Marty, we're going back to the future.
Doc Brown. Yeah, I'm gonna go with probably my first favorite TV show ever.
I know what it's gonna be.
It's not Pokemon. No, I'm not going that far back, but
okay,
I'm going with Friends.
Oh, yeah, I knew.
Yeah. I used to watch that all the time, way before I understood exactly what was happening on that show. I loved me some Chandler. It was just
could you be any more obvious?
Exactly. So yeah, no, that was probably what, I had Friends trivia.
You did. We've played it. Yeah, it's not on my list, but my girlfriend and I, we watched all the Friends on Netflix probably we finished maybe a month or two ago, but it took us about 6 months because there's 204 episodes or something. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. I really liked it. It's not one of my top 5, but yeah, it's in that second or third tier of shows. Just consistently funny for a really long time. Lots of good episodes.
Yep,
to be sure.
Definitely.
I will go ahead and say my next one's Saturday Night Live, which is kind of a different pick, but I have enjoyed it for as long as I can remember. I still watch it every single weekend. I like watching the shows that predate my birth. It's consistent. It's great now. It's been great since it started. I love it. I love watching the people come in, establish themselves, and then go on to do other things. I love it when people stick around a long time, like Kenan Thompson or Bobby Moynihan. Politically speaking, it's funny right now, especially. Just one of my all-time favorites.
Yeah, that's a great show. I used to watch it a lot more when I was younger. Now I just kind of catch a lot of the stuff on YouTube that I've heard about or people have told me about. But yeah, the 90s version of it was pretty incredible, with everyone from Farley to Phil Hartman to all those people. I think some of my most favorite are watching them just crack up when they screw up. I love watching those.
Especially Jimmy Fallon, man. He just cracked.
he can't hold anything together.
He just cracked up, and you know what? Now he's cracking everybody else up.
Yeah,
he's just the consummate entertainer.
Yeah, it's great to see people move on from that to a different, which I guess that'll lead me into my next one, which this is actually my favorite series of all time, and that's Parks and Recreation. So Amy Poehler went from SNL, and now she was on that, and that, I don't know, that show, for whatever reason, it just speaks to my soul, I guess.
Chicken soup for Jordan's soul.
Yeah, I mean, I laugh the first season, not particularly interesting, but from then on out, like,
you're not a Mark Brandanowitz fan?
He's not the most compelling character.
He's pretty boring.
Yeah, so he didn't last very long. But especially once Rob Lowe and Adam Scott get on the show, like, it just takes off. And one of the nice things is that it kind of ended it when it was time to end it, instead of like going on too long. So it's just, every time I watch one of those episodes, I laugh like the whole time. So
we've been rewatching that the last few months, and I like it. I think on my rewatch, I like it less than I originally did.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. We're into the Councilman Jam kind of stuff, and I'm finding it to be a little tired. But we're in season like 5 of 7, so that's going to happen. But yeah, I mean, a really robust cast of people that have gone on, again, like SNL, to do a lot of really big things, i.e. Chris Pratt and Adam Scott and stuff. So yeah, it's a good one. I will opt for, I guess, no, Sopranos is my next one. That was the first show. Well, that's not true, but it came out in like that golden age of television, like 2000, 2010, where it's like Sopranos and The Wire and Mad Men and Breaking Bad and things like that. But yeah, Sopranos for me kind of has stood out. I don't know. I watched it when I was in high school and kind of transitioning into college, and I just really got into it. It was sort of before streaming was a thing, so I had to go out and rent all the DVDs in Kalamazoo one by one, and I'd rack up all these late fees and stuff. But, it didn't matter because I was so into the show. And yeah, in the same way that Don Draper is just one of the more compelling characters, you could say the same about Tony Soprano. And that's another show that didn't stick around too long. Went on a good note. The finales, one of them are like, it's an interesting finale, kind of a provocative and controversial final scene, but I love the show. I love all the characters. I like mafioso stuff as well. Have you ever watched that? Probably not, right?
Yeah, that's the only one so far that we've listed that I've never seen at all. So I can't really contribute too much there. I know that a lot of people were either...
Jordan, then you don't have to.
Not going to. I just remember the biggest thing that I've heard about that show is the ending, and some people loved it, some people hated it.
I love it.
Yeah,
I love it.
But, I think I've heard you say that before. So,
yeah.
But it's always up there on like top lists. It's always like top 5. A lot of times number 1, number 2.
That's because it's dope.
Dope.
All right, I'll guess your last one.
Yeah, I also have an honorable mention. That's like completely.
I have an honorable mention as well. Are you on 5 or are you done?
This is my 5th one.
Okay,
right here.
All right, go ahead.
My last one's The Office.
Yeah. Okay.
Was that what you were gonna guess?
I was gonna guess something as a joke, but it's okay. I was gonna guess it was gonna not be a very good joke. It was gonna be like Little House on the Prairie or something. A middle school joke is what I was.
Oh man, that really hurt me. No,
I know I would have stung.
Yeah, The Office is one of those.
That's in my honorable mention.
Okay, yeah, it was one of those another one that I just loved when it first came on, and I binged. And
right.
Steve Carell, incredible. When he left the show, not nearly as good. So that's the issue. That's the downfall.
That's the black mark with The Office, is that that's the thing that Parks and Rec did that The Office didn't, is The Office hung around like 2 or 3 more seasons than it should have, and they brought in like James Spader and
just
Idris
weird,
Elba,
yeah, just weird,
all this
weird stuff.
It just didn't really work. But I mean, obviously, like I think the Office is better than Parks and Rec. I just consistently I laughed more, and even the bad seasons I still got some pretty good laughs, just because of the supporting cast and stuff. But yeah, I mean that's one that debuted right when we were in middle school or so, and it holds up 10, 12 years later, so I definitely agree. My last one, do you have a guess? I think you should be able to get this.
Seinfeld.
Yeah, it's Seinfeld. That's the Seinfeld music.
Oh, that was pretty good.
Seinfeld. What do you say? It is
incredible.
It's been my favorite show since the first episode I saw was The Bubble Boy when I was like 5 or 6. My parents were watching it, and I was like, I gotta see what this is all about. I didn't get it. I didn't really understand the jokes until I was probably high school age, but I understood enough of it. George Costanza, one of my favorite characters of all time, pathetic and but with some hubris to boot. I just love it. I mean, I could go on for a long time, but great writing, compelling stuff, always true to life until maybe the last 2 seasons when it became kind of goofy. But even when it was goofy, and Newman was imagining Kramer as like a chicken dinner or a turkey, I still was laughing. So honorable mention for me, my last one is Curb Your Enthusiasm, which is a lot like Seinfeld because Larry David did both. So yeah, that's that.
Yeah, I've only seen a couple episodes of that, but I did enjoy that as well.
Yeah, it's good. It's coming back this year coming back by popular demand, just like this segment. Hopefully you haven't turned us off yet.
I still have my honorable mention.
All right, fine.
Sorry, you were ready to roll on out, but
I was ready to roll on out. I mean, it better be good to have.
You're probably gonna hate this. It's not quite Little House on the Prairie, but this show I have watched almost daily for like 15 years, I would say. So I thought I would throw it on there, and it's a little bit different than our other shows. It's
TRL.
No, but it does have 3 initials. PTI. Pardon the interruption, with Tony Kornheiser and Michael Wilbon.
Pick.
Yeah, I still DVR that show. I still watch it. Like, it's really the only show of that nature that I ever tune into. So
SportsCenter is so terrible, and like
I never watched
those
that.
other shows are the Around the Horn is terrible. The Dan Lebertard show is
it's wacky.
Yeah, I don't even understand the format of that show. And then what's the show with the woman from Michigan State and
I know His and Hers.
God, I hate those shows. The Talking Head shows. I mean, I can't stand those. But you're right. PTI is like it's the cream of the crop in that regard because they're both intelligent, they're funny, they've been doing it a long time. Yeah, I like that show. So that's an interesting pick. I wouldn't have thought of that, but yeah, consistent enjoyment for a long time. So I can't fault you.
Thank you.
I mean,
usually you're attacking me, so this is.
I know you're surprised. Yeah. You're surprised.
Different Adam.
It's I mean, that was my resolution. So, speaking of resolutions, I resolved to finish this Tim Allen text. I'm not really here, so Jordan, go ahead and cue those grounds.
Sure, it's all saved to me. Oh no!
Now it's time for Bits of Wisdom.
This week's bit of wisdom comes from the Tim Allen text. I'm not really here. The chapter is entitled 11. The great thing is that this staring in the face of the Creator is really okay. It's nothing to be afraid of. Losing one's grip can be the right thing, because you can't find something new until you let go of the old. This has been your bit of wisdom. What do you make of that? Philosophical much?
Yeah, it's better than some of the other ones we've heard.
You like it. You're kind of digging this.
As it gets older, I think, or as it gets closer to the end of the book, I think he's saving the best for last.
I think we're getting older. That's what you were thinking when you said that. Good news or bad news, depending on your perspective. Only one chapter left on the Tim Allen text. I'm not really here. But fear not, I got something else in the works. It's going to be just as good, if not better. So, all you wisdom heads out there, don't freak out, all right?
I'm freaking out.
I'm freaking out, man. All right. What are we covering this week, Jordan?
We're going to freak out about episode 32, May the Best Man Win.
We may very well freak out. And this one was written by Maxine Lapidus? Is that how you'd pronounce it?
Lapidus. Yeah, why not?
Not Lapidance, Lapidus.
Lapidus.
That's a pretty dirty joke for us. Probably transitioning slowly into Home Improvement After Dark.
Very slowly.
That's a raunchy bit.
Maxine only writes 2 episodes in the whole series.
Have we seen her before?
No, this is the first. The other one happens in 1993, so I don't know if it's part of this season as it turns over the calendar year or in the next season.
Is it called May the Best Woman Win?
I don't know. Does that seem like something Maxine would do?
I don't know.
Who are we to tell?
Maxine.
On what grounds?
This episode debuted on 11/11/92. So someone made a wish.
And Maxine made it come true.
And Maxine made it come true. I feel like I've said that before. We got a plot synopsis this week, Jordan.
Yeah, Tony Topola, he's back, or she's back. I will never say it's a she. Apparently,
she is back. Yes.
Oh, my goodness. All right, so in Tool Time, Tim has a huge project renovating a house from top to bottom. Mr. Binford's daughter arrives to announce that she is now the show's producer, which means that Tim is no longer in charge. At home, Jill gets a week's worth of job, I guess is what Tony meant to say. At the Inside Detroit magazine, she has to be at work at 8 o'clock in the morning, and Tim has to be at the project house around the same time. Who's going to get the boys off to school?
That makes it seem like getting the boys to school is like the primary conflict in this episode.
It's a good thing things exist like a bus.
Yeah, when really it is about a 10-second problem. Well, thank you nonetheless, Tony, for your
Miss or
synopsis.
Mrs. Topola.
Mrs. Yeah, Mrs. All right, so you want to start things off?
Sure.
We should do plot keywords.
Oh, you're right. Thank goodness you stopped me for that. All right.
And there aren't plot keywords, so I guess we have to make up our own.
Which I like better than whatever everyone comes up with. All right, so let's go back and forth. I'll start with redhead.
I'll start with researcher. Jill gets a job as researcher.
I'm gonna say bathtub.
How does that factor in?
That's where Wilson's running off to later on.
Oh, okay. I'll say Nook.
That's good. I'm gonna say kindergarten. Because some reason
again, I don't understand.
Some reason Jill says that.
Oh, she does. All right.
Yeah.
I'll say cookies.
That's.
There's someone in my house eating my cookies.
And that's I'm gonna say roof. That's the last one I got.
All right, that's it. Okay, really good. Glad we did that. Go ahead and start.
Okay, so we open on Tool Time, and I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but have you noticed that the mailbag is spelled M-A-L-E bag?
On the show?
Yeah.
I don't think I've even seen the mailbag.
So I saw the mailbag like sitting as they
I'm watching these on Daily Motion, Jordan. There's no clarity.
Yeah, well,
I can barely make out who's talking half the time.
Yeah, you just have to tell by the voice. You can't really tell by the looks. Well, yeah, not for some reason, we know why, but I never noticed that before, so that's an interesting...
Yeah, it's because they're men, that's why.
Are you sure?
It's a masculine show.
Well,
yeah, it's plant words.
If Mo has her way, that's gonna change. So
Mo.
They open on the show, and they've got a killer project coming up. They're gonna renovate a house from top to bottom. So
Started from the bottom. Now we here.
Now we fixin', I guess. I don't know. So Tim claims it's his own idea, but Al mentions that it came from watching Bob Vila's show. And then Tim does the bit that we've seen 4 or 5 times now, where he shows pictures, before and after pictures, basically. So he's showing houses that he's renovated before or have been renovated. So he shows like these little shacks or rundown bungalows, and then he shows the renovated, nicer, bigger house. And at the very end, he shows like this little shack, and then he apparently renovated it and shows a picture of the Taj Mahal.
And then some very
sitar Indian
some
music.
Sitar Indian music plays, and it's just very tasteful 90s representations of India.
It's very tasteful.
2 things. So he says he's going to take this shack and he's going to change it into something. Both times I was waiting for him to hold up a picture of Shaquille O'Neal.
Oh, man.
Wouldn't that have been better?
It probably would have been less racist.
Yeah, Shaq would have been in college, so I guess maybe they couldn't have done that, but I thought that would have been funny. And then, yeah, Jordan, you often want me to talk about my travel, and I have. You say this a lot. You say, why don't you talk about your travel more? Or why don't you talk about yourself? And I have been to India, and I can tell you, I didn't hear music like this when I went there.
No? So what kind of music did you hear?
Oh, kind of, it was more poppy, like Bollywood kind of soundtrack stuff, just it's jazzy kind of stuff, real upbeat, kind of like what we hear here, like boy band sort of stuff. But yeah,
I feel like I've been lied to.
Yeah, it's just weird that Maxine Lapidus wouldn't have known what kind of music they play in India and would have just kind of assumed what George Harrison was interested in when he was kind of doing his whole sitar thing. A little more research was done, but maybe Maxine was busy. It's hard to write an episode, so she probably couldn't do the research. But
strike one for me. Strike one, Maxine.
Maybe it would be construed as offensive. I assume so, but instead we are just supposed to think it's funny, I suppose. And in a way, it is funny, but not the right way.
Mm-hmm. So next scene.
So we're at the Tool Time set. It's that's the cold open, we should say.
Right.
It ends with the Taj Mahal bit, and then they play the intro, and then we're at the Tool Time set after the show, and it's like I feel like we've been doing this a lot lately. Like, didn't the last episode do this exact same thing, where it's Tim and Al alone in the studio after the cold open?
Yeah, they're lingering a lot in that scene, and it's either before show or after show or long after show.
We're definitely getting more Tool Time than we did in the first season,
and more Al.
Which is good.
Yeah.
So Al is talking about the renovation. He's asking Tim some questions, whereas Tim is really only concerned about his tie, which tie he should choose. So we're getting Tim being a little bit of a narcissist, which is, I guess, nothing.
Red or blue?
Yeah, red or blue. No, I would have gone blue. 10 times out of 10, you go blue. Maureen Binford shows up, and we learn that this is the daughter of. Is it John Binford?
I think so. Yeah.
And she, there's some exposition, but we find out that John Binford is no longer around. He has married Miss Black & Decker, who's a 23-year-old Tool model. Terry Louise Gardner is her name.
Yep.
Tim and Elle both know her really well. And Maureen's going to be the new producer. And Maureen she's complimentary of Tim and Al. She's nice, kind of throughout the whole episode. She actually is nice. It might be disingenuous. Maybe she's kind of just playing the game. But slowly it becomes kind of evident that she's going to want to make some changes. It's going to be more of a collaborative process on Tool Time, whereas Tim before claims that he just kind of ran the show, which, based on what we've seen, is not really true. I don't know.
It's hard to say.
I don't know if I've really viewed Tim as being the boss of Tool Time thus far, but we don't really see the behind-the-scenes stuff. What else we got? Yeah, Al and Maureen are flirting a lot.
She makes a comment that he is the sex appeal of the show.
Yeah, she definitely favors Al. I'll talk a little bit about Maureen Binford. So she's played by Vicki Lewis. She has 66 credits to her name. Recently, she did the voice of Deb in Finding Dory. She was a series regular on the sitcom News Radio. She was in the 1998 Godzilla movie with Matthew Broderick, which was really terrible. She was in Mouse Hunt, and then I recognized her right away, and I couldn't figure out what from.
I knew her from News Radio. I used to watch that show.
Yeah, I didn't know. I'd seen her before, and I'd seen her quite a bit, but I couldn't think of who it was. But she plays George's secretary in a couple episodes of Seinfeld. Named Ada. He hires her and then sleeps with her right away, and then she gets herself a raise out of it and so on. She's only in a couple episodes, but she's more of a Poindexter in that than she is in this. But definitely, she's a memorable actress. I like her. Actually, like her performance in this. It's a little bit different than what we've come to see.
Yeah. So you've never really watched News Radio?
Never seen it. Is that the Phil Hartman show?
Yeah, I mean, it has a ton of... It's kind of like SNL. It has all these people that went on to do stuff.
The Stephen Root, too, right?
Yeah, Stephen Root. It's got Dave Foley. It's got the girl from...
The girl with the dragon tattoo.
Yep, she's in it. But also the girl from Liar Liar, who is the ex of Jim Carrey.
Maura Tierney.
Yes, that's her name.
Yeah.
And then a couple other... I mean, Joe Rogan's on there, and...
Well, that is enough for me.
Andy Dick is on there, too.
Joe Rogan's on there trying to get people to eat bull testicles for $50,000.
Yeah.
Fear factor?
Yes, I get it. I get it.
I don't know.
I get it.
When you hear jokes, you're supposed to laugh.
Oh.
All right, so Tim thinks he runs a show. She's suggesting changes. At the end of the scene, Tim is going to call Binford. He's getting ready to call John Binford and to complain about the daughter. But they both realize, Terry Louise Gardner, Mrs. Black & Decker, she's just so hot that there's no way that Binford's going to answer the phone.
Not a chance.
There's some back and forth here where they're like trying to justify their knowledge of this woman, and it's pretty funny. They're saying like, we get the magazines and we gotta read them because it's part of the job. It's pretty funny. It's a funny scene, I think.
Yeah, I think, and it's a long scene actually. It
is a really long scene. It's definitely the longest scene in the episode.
Yeah, it sets up a lot of what's happening this episode and what I would assume in further episodes. So I guess it makes sense.
3 episodes she appears in.
Yep.
Total. So not too many. But
so
next scene?
Yeah, next scene we're at home. Mom and the boys are there. The boys are hungry and want to know where the cookies are. They don't.
Did you notice someone makes a return this episode?
Oh, Brad. Brad's a little.
Brad is back. Hit the sack.
Guess who's
been
back?
Long, bad to bring him back. Yeah, Brad's back, and it's good to have him back. His presence is just immediately felt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we missed him, and they're missing these hoopty-hoo cookies, which
hoopty-hos.
Hoopty-hos. I could not find what those actually were, so I don't.
I looked it up. It seems made up.
It seems made up. So no hoopty-hos.
I don't know. What are you envisioning for that though? Like what would that be comparable to?
Like a vanilla Oreo.
I assumed that it was a hoop, so there was like some sort of a rounded with a circle in the middle, like a hollowed out middle. So I don't know.
My, I didn't really have a good reason for it, but I'm thinking like that middle part in the middle would be like a rope that you have tied tight around something. So that's all I got. But she told.
Wait, so what?
I just think of an Oreo. Just think of the white part in the Oreo. If you like pull something tight and it squeezes the skin, that's what I got. It's a hooped Oreo.
Yeah, I mean, I guess
this is why things need to exist. I can't let my imagination run wild.
I just wish I could understand what you're saying, but we'll
often
talk off air.
Often you don't understand me.
We'll talk off air.
Often,
So
not many.
They're looking for hoopty hos. Jordan, you want to continue on?
Not really.
All right. Well, you gather your thoughts and do your rope role play stuff you got going on in your mind, and I'll keep going. The phone rings, and Jill answers, and she's pretty excited because she got a job at Invite Detroit Magazine. Did you look that up at all?
I thought it was Inside Detroit Magazine.
Yeah, it is actually. She got a job at Invite Detroit, and she turned it down because it's not real. And then she got a call from Inside Detroit Magazine, and she takes it.
Big week for her. Two job offers.
Yeah, it's huge. I didn't even know she was applying for jobs, so I was pretty surprised.
She kept that quiet this time around.
Yeah,
She
good
didn't.
move.
She didn't want to get her hopes
You
up.
never want to like tell people that you're applying for jobs or like that you have an interview because they're just going to ask you about it, and if you don't get it or you're not hearing back, then it's just like kind of depressing.
Mm-hmm.
I would know. So yeah, she got a job. She's a researcher, and she tells the boys. And they're very happy for her, and it seems genuine. I thought that was very nice.
It is,
they're all like,
but
way to go, Mom!
But then Rad. That's what I call Brad.
Freudian slip.
That's what I call Brad and Randy combined. But they yell out freedom, so they think her being gone is going to lead to them causing more mischief. Which I would say
they're going to get more hoopty hos.
Hoopty hos, throw bricks in windows, whatever. I think they have quite a bit of freedom to begin with. They're always running around, going everywhere,
I would say they have more freedom than most kids do.
Messing with the McGurns and whoever else. So,
say that again.
But you know who's sad about this development? It's Mark. He's sad.
Yeah, he's kind of a jerk.
He's a wet blanket.
He's immediately thinking about himself. Mom, who's going to take care of us?
Another really good Mark impression.
Mom, I want a popsicle. That's all he's been doing the whole season.
Yeah, and he continues it here. And Jill goes on to use an analogy saying that work for her is like recess, and how he enjoys recess. She wants to experience this recess of her own. The boys go upstairs now. They're looking for the hoopty hos in the attic.
Gross. I wouldn't eat anything that was being shelved in an attic.
Yeah, that's not a good idea. But they probably won't find any, according to Jill. So Tim comes home. Apparently Karen set up this interview. So Karen's working her fingers in this episode, even though she's not here. Tim is excited for her, but he's also upset about his day. And he kind of comes comes in and is a little bit upset, but then he changes his attitude pretty quickly and is excited for her. But then the question remains, who will take the boys to school in the morning? Because they both have to be to work early. And that's an issue that is really not discussed after this, right?
It just solves itself, Like
they both realize how stupid the argument is.
Yeah, it's pretty short-lived because, the bus comes at 8 and, jobs generally start, 8:39. So it's pretty easy fix. Tim, he comes in a huff and he's like, he is happy for Jill, but he's trying to also complain, as he often does, and like trying to let off some steam. And she's just, she's got her own stuff going on, and I give her credit. She isn't really having it. She just she says, "I have errands to run. Can you feed the boys some dinner?" And then she heads out the door. So, and then we transition, and for dinner, For breakfast, Tim made cereal. And Jill is she is going around from boy to boy. She's getting a little sentimental because I guess, I don't know, maybe this is like the first time she's left the house.
She's not going to be there to see them off to school for like the first time, or be there when they get home, I think.
Yeah, I suppose. And she gets kind of sentimental. Mark he's in his Boy Scout uniform, and that makes sense to me. Mark seems very much like the kind
he's got a scout meeting after
Scout.
School.
He seems the Boy Scout type.
But we already knew that he was a Cub Scout.
Really?
Yeah, remember the episode with the snake? He has like the whole troop over.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Wild thing.
Wild Kingdom.
Wild Kingdom, whatever.
Yeah. So Randy has detention, and is there 4th grade detention?
I was a good kid, so I wouldn't know.
But like, I guess the equivalent to 4th grade detention is you stay inside for
recess or
something. Like maybe that's it. But I don't think there's after school detention when you're 9 years old.
You probably just get written up or something like that.
Yeah, well, he has detention. Jill leaves. The bus comes. It honks, which I don't know that buses actually would honk and wait for kids to come out. But maybe they got to deal with the bus driver. Kids get on the bus. Problem solved. Al arrives, and he comes in, and I guess he's picking Tim up to go to the project house.
Yeah.
And he starts calling her Mo, and he says, "Yeah, Mo is already there. You should give Mo a chance." And then Tim, he kind of gets a whiff of the scent, and he realizes, that they are. He's got a little crush on her. They had coffee together. Al is, he is, as Al often is, he's falling for someone right away without really knowing much about him.
What do you mean? They got coffee together?
That's all it takes, man. He couldn't get coffee with Karen a few weeks back, so he's moving on to the next best thing, which is Mo. Al is he's wearing
his jacket,
his flannel.
Well, before that, the second time I watched it, I saw that his jacket is zipped up very tightly, all the way to the top. It's
for the bit, baby.
Yeah, he's even inside, the house, and he's not unleashing anything, relaxing, letting himself cool down. No, he keeps it up tight, and Tim rips it down, and he sees that Al, like you said, has replaced his flannel for a Hawaiian shirt.
And I love the Hawaiian shirt.
It looked good on him.
I loved it. There's 2 bits of clothing in this episode that I would like to own. This is the first one, and you can guess what the other one is. But yeah, it's a great look for Al. It looks really cool. It doesn't really fit with the show at all, but it looks really cool. And Mo is saying that he sometimes blends into the background. Blends into the background, exactly. So as you said earlier, with Karen kind of having her fingers in this episode, I would say Mo has her fingers around Al. Mm-hmm. And then Tim
just
says
like that hoop is around that cookie.
Yeah, man. And then Tim says that Al looks like a beach boy, and then because it's Home Improvement, they have a cool kind of blue water graphic to close out the scene. Thanks for that.
Yep, so glad that happened. So the next scene is at the project house. Mo is cracking jokes.
All right, we gotta discuss this.
We just get this part of the joke. It's just the very end as we enter the scene, and it says, the parrot says, "Forget the cracker, I want a lawyer."
All right, this is actually a kind of a pet peeve of mine. I don't like it when shows or movies do this because it's lazy. They either need to flesh out the entire joke or have a punchline where you can kind of reverse engineer and figure out what the joke is. But instead, they're just like going for like lame, quick laughs in a joke that doesn't make any sense. I hate this. It's such an easy way out. Like, at least, like, when people do, like, the rectum near killed him joke, like, you can figure out, like, rectum versus wrecked them. Like, that at least makes sense. Like, that's, like, the go-to for this kind of thing. But I hate it when they do stuff like this. It's so lazy. It doesn't make any sense.
You didn't like the parrot joke?
It's not a real, like, it's such lazy writing. Like, have a joke, like, tell the whole joke, or have a joke with a punchline that makes sense. But this is, and I looked it up online, it's not a real joke.
What doesn't make sense about a parrot that says, forget the cracker, I want a lawyer?
There's no setup. Like, you can't, like, figure out how did they get there. Like, that's the whole thing. Like, that's why you do that.
I assume it had something to do with a parrot sitting on a pirate's shoulder, but I don't know much more than that.
I've actually kind of been thinking about it, and I think I've got something.
All right, let's hear it.
It's not a joke. It's not a joke so much. It's more just like a situation. But all right. So there's a parrot in this, and we may end up cutting this if it ends up being dumb. So
I don't think so.
We'll see. So there's a parrot in this family's house. And the parrot, you know, it's a house bird. So the family lives around the bird, and the bird is, like I said, this isn't a joke. And the bird, it absorbs what they say, and it will kind of repeat phrases. All right, so the family is complaining. This is also taking place in the 1950s, I should say. So the family is complaining about the milkman, and they're like, this milkman is always late, man. He's not good at his job. I want my milk earlier. This guy should get fired. This guy stinks. All right, so they say that enough. The bird absorbs some of the information, and the bird ends up holding on to the milkman stinks. All right, fast forward to the milkman comes one day, and the bird's by the window, and the milkman comes up, and the bird says, the milkman stinks. And he hears it, and he's like mad. He's like really, really mad, and he stops delivering milk. All right, so now the milkman and the family are in trouble. Like, they are at odds, and they're not getting their milk. And they have two options. They're either going to sue the milkman for not giving them milk, or, get this, they're going to sue the bird for libel. So the bird I'm not done. The bird says, Polly want a cracker? No, Polly want a lawyer. You guys are putting me on this, you guys are suing me for libel? I don't think so. All right, so that's kind of the only way the joke can work.
It's sounds like you got your next screenplay that we're going to be working on after this.
I don't think so. I don't think so, Tim. That's the only way the joke can work, Jordan.
Wow.
There's no other explanation. Do you have an explanation?
Well, I definitely haven't put as much thought into it as you. I will say that. So, I perhaps like it better than you do. I think maybe there's other possibilities, but I am very impressed with the whole situation you just presented.
Yeah, well, I had to try something. You know, I wanted to try to make sense of it. I wish I could get a hold of Maxine Lapidus and figure out more, but yeah, I don't know how else you would explain it. Why else would the bird want a lawyer?
I don't know. Maybe he's been locked away with his pirate friend for too long. And
I don't know why you're assuming this is a pirate situation.
Well, you know, in all the movies that I've seen, it's pirates that seem to offer a parrot a cracker. Because there's a pirate like on long.
Not Polly with Tony Shalhoub.
Okay, let's move on. I can't do this anymore.
Anyway, I hate that joke. It's lazy. Come on, do better. Anyways, go ahead.
Well, they're not going to do much better in the immediate future because we're going to have Tim up on a shaky roof, and I think we know where that's going to lead. But so Tim starts with an argument about the nook. Apparently, they're trying to reestablish the fact that there's going to be a breakfast nook, and Tim doesn't want it. I thought it was interesting that this is like more of a real set than I think we've seen some of the other house building sets. Like,
yeah,
you see the whole house, you see kind of a neighborhood, it looks like a real street, everything like that. So that's a little bit different than what we usually see in the studio. During this conversation, Mo is a little more tactful, and Tim is kind of aggressive and just wants things.
Mo's pretty tactful throughout.
Yeah, she's pretty good. She's genial. She's friendly. She laughs and just kind of makes it seem okay, but she also makes it seem like she's still gonna get her way. So she's pretty smart, and so they're moving up on the roof. I think they're gonna talk about like starting at the roof basically for this renovation project. And she mentions that it's probably not a good idea. It doesn't look safe. And he says, I've been doing this for years. I think I know how to get on a roof and where to walk and all that kind of stuff. They start rolling the camera. Tim hops around the roof and is talking about these different areas to avoid, and then he jumps and hits one of those areas and falls through the roof. So
I know that this was telegraphed a mile away, but I don't know. For whatever reason, I think the jumping around as opposed to him just like standing there and falling through, I got a laugh out of this.
Well, initially, his first jump, he doesn't fall through, too, so It's a little bit unexpected.
I don't know. Obviously, as soon as he's going up on the roof that he's going to fall through. But for what, I don't know. This worked for me.
Plus, we got another shot of Al in his Hawaiian shirt, so I think that helped.
I don't know if it was just like the sad scene. I don't know. I just liked it. It was good for me. I don't know why. Even though we see this almost every episode, this one worked. So, all right. Next scene. Little fence time. So, Tim, he's having a tough time. He fell through a roof.
Rough episode.
He feels like his toes are getting stepped on by Maureen, and he's seeking some solace from Wilson. And let's go ahead and play a clip here, Jordan.
Hey, Wilson, what are you doing?
I'm gathering herbs. A warm bath of eucalyptus and rosemary can be quite invigorating.
Oh, sounds very aromatic, yeah. I had a really bad day. Maybe I should try some of that.
Darn good idea. Well, I'll see you.
Oh, hold it, Wilson, I gotta ask you something.
Well, maybe we could do this tomorrow, Tim?
No, I need to ask you right now. It seems like everything in my life is up in the air. Mm-hmm. Everything's changing. Well, there's this woman that came into Tool Time. She's trying to take it over, and well, I've made Tool Time a success, over 3 years, and I don't think it needs any change.
Well, Tim, sometimes change can be a good thing. Good night.
Wait, Wilson.
All right, so this is a little bit different of a Wilson scene that we've had. Wilson is gathering herbs for a bath, and he doesn't really want to talk right now. He doesn't really want to give advice. He gives a very flippant response, which is, change can be a good thing, good night. And we really just get here that no one is listening to Tim in this episode. Jill hasn't really listened to him. Wilson is not now. Al doesn't really agree with him. And Mo certainly isn't listening to him. And that kind of continues into the next scene, unless you have anything else to really add about this scene.
I liked this scene. I thought that this is kind of in the same way we say it, subverts what we're used to when we see Jill talk to Wilson. I thought this is, almost every week on this show, we get the same old thing with the fence and some kind of a proverb or, an old tale that relates to Tim's problem. And this week, Wilson's just like, nah, I'm good. I gotta take a bath. You're on your own. It's like, I don't know. Yeah, I thought it was funny. Unexpected for me. Because I don't think I'd seen this episode before. But yeah, that worked for me as well.
Yeah, it was different. It was good. And we continue into the next scene. Tim just kind of seamlessly walks inside, so there's not really a break where there's any sweet graphics of a bath splashing or anything like that. But he goes inside and he tries to talk a little bit with Brad. If he can't find any solace in some of these other people, he's going to try with his children. So he tries to talk to Brad. Brad just got off the phone, and he's got to go. He's got to talk to Jennifer. And I thought that was some of the freedom that they were talking about earlier. He doesn't even really ask his dad or his mom. He just kind of leaves. Yeah,
this show acts like, and we saw this in the Halloween episode, this show acts like Brad is 16. It's he really lives the life of a high school student or a college student. Even he's going to meet up with his girlfriend. He comes and goes as he pleases. He's got, girlfriend drama. I don't know. It's interesting to me. That's a good point. It's strange.
A little
Lots
strange.
of freedom.
A little strange. I don't think we get a chance to see if Randy would listen, although I assume he would just make fun of his father.
Probably still in detention.
Probably. It's a long detention period for 3 hours. But Mark is there, and he is willing to listen. So they sit down on the couch, and Tim tries to put it in terms that Mark will understand. He invents this bubblegum business that also sells baseball cards, I believe. And he says
it's just a hypothetical. He's trying to put it in Mark's terms.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Tim says, what would you do if a girl takes over the factory? What do you do? And he says, I would tell mommy. And Tim says, but you can't tell mommy, which I guess in his scenario is Mr. Binford. So Mark isn't much help, and Tim doesn't get a lot of answers from this, but he kind of learns that he's going to have to suck it up, or he's going to have to figure something else out on his own.
Yeah.
So
You're right.
Right after that, Mark leaves and Jill comes home. She had a great first day. She had a sweet electronic security card that she shows Tim. Have you had one of these for teaching or anything like that?
An electronic security card? Yeah.
Yeah. Didn't think about it until this moment, but I've had one for really every job. Even, Disney had not necessarily a security card, but you had to show your ID to get on a bus that would take you to the Magic Kingdom. And my other jobs, I had it.
I guess you're kind of a braggart, I would say.
Yeah, I got security clearance, I would say.
Yeah, I think every teaching job I've had has given me something like that because obviously like schools need some sort of security. So yeah, I mean I get it. Like anytime I get my picture taken and an ID badge, like I'm gonna take a picture of it. I'm gonna send it out. You're
gonna flash it around to everybody.
I get the excitement.
So you empathize with Jill here. Tim puts on a pretty good face, I thought, but he's limping around from his roof accident earlier. And
he's kind of resigned himself to the fact that no one's going to listen. So when Jill comes home, he doesn't complain. He just is kind of just going, like he's listening to her, he's happy for her, but he's not necessarily going to bring it up on his own accord. At least not right away.
Unless that's a fake limp.
I'll say.
Yeah. So Jill does notice the limp, and Tim takes this opportunity to explain all the change that's happening, Mo taking over. And Jill comes to his defense. She says he built that show. Who does she think she is? And then he remembers who Maureen is, and she says, "I can take her." So she's
got 40 pounds on her.
Yeah.
Prior to this, Tim notes that Al looks like Don Ho. Do you know who Don Ho is?
I don't, but you did make that joke earlier.
Yeah, I had to look it up. He is the singer of the song "Tiny Bubbles." Have you ever heard "Tiny Bubbles"?
Are you gonna play it right now?
I mean, we can play it maybe at the end of the episode. It's like "Tiny Bubbles." You'd know it if you heard it, but it's kind of a one-hit wonder. And he's a Hawaiian guy, so that was the reference there because I had no idea what he was talking about.
Well done, Tim.
Yes. So Jill does come to Tim's aid. She just, she's making him feel better. She's got his back. She says if she's messing with you, she's messing with me.
Mm-hmm.
And then Tim, even just the levity in the situation makes Tim feel better. But this is funny. He says, "Yeah, I mean, it's fine. I think I'm going to try to outsmart her anyways." And Jill's like, "Come on,
we know better.
How's that going to work out?"
And we'll find out.
Yeah. Next scene. This is the final scene, the final actual scene of the episode. And you have Tim and Al on set, and Tim is really concentrating on something. Do we know what though?
He's like frantically working on the blueprints. He's like I think he's erasing what Mo had done.
All right. And Al calls him a gloomy Gus because not only is he getting coffee with Mo, he's also going to talk like Mo. He's exactly like Anne in Parks and Rec in that she becomes kind of like a boyfriend chameleon.
Yeah. He's got the Hawaiian shirt on. He's also doing what he always does after the show. He's sweeping.
He's a huge sellout.
He is.
So Tim again mentions that he has outsmarted Mo, and we find out she comes in, and what he's done is, I guess, and correct me if I'm wrong, he has prompted her to set up a Tool Time brand of apparel, and he sent her to like an expo in Chicago to sell the sweatshirt line for a week.
Yeah, it seems like maybe a short-term thing that maybe while she's gone, he's going to be able to maybe come up with more. Maybe he's buying some time for himself to either put plans in place or come up with a better plan.
I mean, she's only in 3 episodes, so we can't assume this is going to be a real long-term problem. But
I wish you wouldn't have told me that because I had no idea.
Sorry, man. So he says he's got her hooked like a dumb bass. Pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good. I laughed.
I like it.
I liked it. And then, kind of, I guess, sort of the twist here, if you would call it that. But she comes in, she says she's going, and then she gives them like a sweatshirt. And then Tim gets out the sweatshirt and he kind of unfolds it, and it says Tool Time, and it has a big picture of Al.
Yeah, and right before this,
loves Al.
Yeah, right before this, he says, "Who's the boss now?" And it shows Al. So
yeah, and that was the second bit of clothing this episode that I would like to own. I'd really like a Tool Time sweatshirt that had Al on it.
Yeah,
that'd be really cool.
That's a nice crew sweatshirt. I tell you what.
Add it to the list. Hats. Sweatshirts and so on, and that's the final scene. And then we see some bloopers where the kids are going to the bus, and Al arrives, and he's wearing that that 10-gallon hat from.
That's just some good clean hat fun right there.
Yeah, they're loving it. They're having a good time, which I suppose is the most important thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then we roll credits, fade to black. That is May the Best Man Win.
Overall thoughts. I liked it.
Yeah, 1 second. Why is it called May the Best Man Win? Because
it's kind of a competition between him and her. Who will be the owner of the show? Who will control what happens?
May the best man win. Yeah. Okay. I mean, I don't know that makes a ton of sense to me because obviously, like, she is a woman. Is that just like playing a play on the fact that he is a man and a man is losing control to a woman, or is there more to it than that?
I'm not sure. You know, a lot of the titles of the episodes don't make a whole lot of sense. So yeah. I don't know that I'm gonna.
They should have put
a good answer.
They should have put parenthesis WO before that, and then that would have worked.
That would have been better.
Yeah, come on, Maxine.
I was hoping they'd put if you give a parrot a cracker. That's
the original title was Angry Milkman. Colon. Parrot wants a lawyer.
Colon. That would have been a little more confusing to a lot of people. Probably.
I mean, it's on brand for the show. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry. You were saying you liked this episode.
Yeah, I did like this episode. There was a lot of new stuff going on. We had an injection of a new character who I thought was different than a lot of other characters that we've had on the show and interesting. We have someone challenging Tim's, I guess, preeminence on the show.
It's his masculinity.
Yeah, and it kind of ends on a cliffhanger, which we haven't really seen. So we kind of know that this is going to be a reoccurring thing that happens, like you said, in a couple more episodes. But we know that there's still some tension that's unresolved here. And usually at the end of every episode, it's like cut and dry. Things have been cleared up and whatnot. So I liked it.
Yeah.
Plus, there was a great joke about a parrot and crackers.
It's not a great joke. I've been taking pot shots at Maxine Lapidus most of the show, but I did enjoy this episode. I thought I might have enjoyed this even more than the haunting of a Taylor house a few episodes back. I don't know. I really like this one. It's different than what we've seen of late. I liked Vicki Lewis as Mo Binford. I thought that was interesting. I liked the Wilson scene where he's just not having it. The jokes were crisp. I don't know, it's just like a tight script. I didn't even really have to take too many notes because it's simple, but it's funny, and yeah, all the character. I like it when Tim is kind of humanized also, like in this episode, like he's having a tough time, and then in the end, Jill kind of rallies around him. It was just like a nice, fun episode to watch. It was funny. Al's stuff with the Hawaiian shirt was good. I laughed more than I usually do, and I hadn't seen this one before also, so that's always nice.
Yeah, I definitely didn't
see one that you haven't seen before, and enjoy it.
Yeah, I definitely didn't remember it either, and Jill got a job, so that's exciting too. We'll see. Yeah. We'll see where that goes.
The kids didn't really have much to do in this one.
No, not a ton. But Randy's still stuck in detention, so we'll see.
But at least Brad is back.
Yeah, they all had some sort of role in the episode. So
albeit limited. But yeah. Good episode.
Yeah, so good episode. I guess that leads us into the mailbag.
Yeah, let's go ahead and let's rip open that mailbag.
Rip it open.
You've got mail.
All right, so this piece of mail in the mailbag comes from Laura, and you might garner from some of the content in it that Laura has a special relationship to me, but we'll let you figure that one out. So at first, Laura has a question, and this is in reference to us really saying on most episodes that things don't necessarily make sense, and there's quite a few plot holes in this show. And she asks, do any sitcoms, past or present, make sense? Or are they to make us laugh and just entertain us?
Right.
So what do you think?
Do any sitcoms, past or present, make sense, or are they just to entertain us and make us laugh? I guess I would say both.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think like more so now than maybe in the past, but for me, like I expect a show to, obviously there's always going to be some suspension of disbelief and maybe minor plot holes. But yeah, I mean, like, I feel like a show like Seinfeld often like made sense, and like people were doing believable things, and it was grounded in a reality, and there wasn't these scenes like you sometimes have on Home Improvement where, like, I don't know, Brad's girlfriend is showing up with a new guy, and they're dressed as biker folks when he is like 11. I don't know. Like, I feel like there are shows of that era, even Friends more so to an extent, where like things like make sense. There aren't these plot holes. Like, people are doing believable things, and I think now so even more. Like, writing is getting better, or I don't know. My opinion of writing is it's getting better. People are maybe fleshing things out a little bit more because maybe audiences are smarter, and there are more shows to choose from. So if something is just like goofy and silly and doesn't really add up, people are probably less inclined to kind of watch that. But I think both is true, and I think also we are more apt to notice these kind of plot holes or inconsistencies because we watch the show every week and we dissect it, and that's kind of what we're doing.
Yeah, when you put a lens under something like that, you're gonna find things that don't make quite as much sense. And I think there's a difference between shows like 30 Rock or Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, where like those are obviously meant to be like
silly.
Yes, yeah. Silly and nonsensical. Whereas Home Improvement doesn't really have that air about it. It's
supposed to be like a family. It's just like a family comedy, a show about a family. And I'd also say, like, I don't know Laura, or maybe I do. I don't know how we're veiling this, but perhaps Laura grew up in an age, or watched television in an age where such things didn't really matter. Maybe she was familiar with shows like, I don't know, like Happy Days or I Love Lucy or All in the Family or something like that, shows of like the 60s and 70s where like there just wasn't really the emphasis on, it was more just setting up jokes and punchlines rather than like having things kind of cohesive and coherent.
Well, I mean,
I don't know how old Laura is.
Maybe I Dream of Jeannie wasn't quite as
Bewitched, something like that. Yeah,
realistic. And this will reveal a little bit more because this mail goes on to say, apparently, I with Laura went on a tour of the Indianapolis 500 Museum and Raceway. Apparently,
Wait a second. You know Laura?
I do. Apparently, I was 3.
Why didn't you tell this? This is a huge reveal.
I know.
You're saying that Laura is maybe a relative of yours?
Maybe. I wanted to add some.
This is shocking.
I wanted to add some suspense, but apparently, when I was 3,
I definitely know how old she is.
Yeah, so apparently Laura and I am not as well. We're not big race fans, but the cars were cool to see, and it was a massive raceway. So
you said you went to the Indy 500 when you were 3.
Yep. So I don't really remember it.
It's an interesting vacation for an interesting place to take a toddler.
Well, we were visiting my Aunt Julie in Indianapolis. Okay. She lives there, so
you liked it? It was fun.
I don't know. I was 3, maybe. I'm sure I enjoyed it the right amount for a 3-year-old.
All right. Well, hey, that's good. That's a good question. Actually, it's a really good question.
Good question.
And thank you, Laura, for writing in. And Laura writes in quite a bit
weekly, I would say,
and we appreciate
one of our best supporters.
So thanks, Laura, for writing in, and we appreciate that.
Yeah.
And
if you
is it time for maybe some social media?
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you want to write into us, if you want to add to the mailbag, and we'll read your comments on air, you can go ahead and contact us at homeandpodcast@gmail.com. Our website, thehomeandpodcast.com, has a couple of tabs where you can contact us there as well. We're on Facebook at facebook.com/homeandpodcast and Twitter at homeandpodcast. If you'd like to support us, you can do so on our website, or you can go straight to patreon.com/homeandpodcast and donate anything like $1 or more. So that's
and we're giving out rewards for those Patreon or those PayPal donations. So get at us, help us keep the lights on. In terms of Twitter, posted a poll this week. A few weeks ago we got 50 votes. We're back down to 9, so it is a roller coaster. Perhaps it was the question. I don't know.
Maybe.
So I asked last week's episode, which was titled. What was last week's episode called? I immediately forget.
Something. I don't know. Let me go back. I'm looking. Roomy for improvement.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So last week's episode, Roomie for Improvement, Brad didn't appear. He was gone. And I asked, where was Brad in this episode? 0% said pranking the McGurn boys. So no one's buying that. 11% said a fundraiser with J-Suds, which maybe people were confused. That is my shorthand for Jennifer Sudarsky.
They're like, who's J-Suds?
They're like, what, is that the girl from Jersey Shore? 22% said punished in his room, which I would say is likely. 67% said watching Spartacus. Dad, Spartacus is on!
He loves Spartacus. He watches it weekly.
Yeah, he sure does. So continue to follow us on various social media accounts.
Perhaps the engagement is down because you berated our Twitter users last week.
Hey, look, man. I'm just trying to put things into perspective. If you don't like the polls, don't vote. And I guess people didn't like the polls, so they didn't vote. So I got what I asked for.
I hope you're proud. All right. Here's what I'm going to ask for right now. Yeah. What's the question of the week?
All right, so much of our discussion on this episode was about a half-finished joke involving a cracker and a lawyer and a parrot.
I don't like where this is going.
I'm just wondering, do you have any like what's the first joke you can think of? Do you have any go-to jokes, or do you know any quick knock-knock jokes that we could do?
Recently my wife's grandma gave us a good old-fashioned humor book. It has
you're answering the question. You do know jokes.
I do know what jokes are.
All right, yeah.
I don't have a go-to.
Can you tell us one? Can you think of anything?
Not really off the top of my head.
Bummer.
I'm sorry. I'm not.
That's all right.
More of my jokes are observations on stupid things.
all right, Seinfeld.
not that kind of observations.
What's the deal?
Or
you don't have any jokes in your back pocket. No lame childhood jokes.
None that come right to mind, unfortunately. I just people don't come to me for jokes. They come to me for financial advice.
I know a good joke. It's you trying to talk about people coming to you for financial.
Hey, you're laughing right now, aren't you?
Yeah, that's true. All right. Well, I have some jokes.
All right, let's hear them, joke maker.
All right. When I think of jokes, here's some quick ones I think of. All right, and some of these are very obvious. All right. Did you hear about the two guys that stole the calendar?
No.
Yeah, they each got 6 months.
Oh, boom.
All right, that's one. Another one is, I don't really know the setup for this, but did you wait? No.
Is this a parrot joke?
No, it's about a cow. Did you hear about the cow eating? This is not right, but I'll just try to say it. Did you hear about the cow that was eating the hay right from the field? No, I butchered it. The punchline is he couldn't get a square meal. I don't know. I think he was eating circular hay or something. I had one good one. That's more than you, so I think that's good enough. So yeah, I mean, do you want to research one, or do you want to come up with one, or you just kind of want to leave everybody hanging?
Let's see.
Because let's talk about as of right now, this is kind of what you're giving our listeners. You don't like coffee. You don't drink. Your vice is exercise. You like YA literature, and you don't know any jokes. So I'm kind of giving you an opportunity to maybe try to represent yourself in a new light.
No wonder your mother disparages me.
she's just going with what she's being given.
All right. Let's see. Why did the orange stop?
He was peeling? I don't know.
No, because it ran out of juice, man.
See, that's good. Did you look that up, or did you just know it?
I've got another one that I looked up about cows. It's a little bit. It's a little bit different than yours.
No, man, come on. That's not on brand for us.
I know the why is 6 afraid of 7.
I thought you were gonna say that. That's
well, I didn't think that was funny.
All right.
Hey, I got jokes.
Yeah, all right, what are we covering next week? We're talking about funny things. What's the next funny episode we're going to cover?
The next funny episode is Where There's a Will, There's a Way. I wonder if someone named Will be on this episode.
I'm thinking Where There's a Death, like a last will and testament.
Ooh. We're going to find out.
That doesn't sound funny.
No, it's going to be a different episode.
Either that or Will Smith shows up in a crossover episode, which would be equally as cool. But hey, yeah, Jordan, thanks for joining me this week. It was a blast.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure.
It's been a pleasure. Pleasure's all on this side. And I want to thank everyone for listening, and I guess I should say take care.
Take care, everybody.